Hi, this is Mike, and we're looking at the euro dollar chart. So, a couple of revisions I've made to this chart here in particular. One you'll notice straight away is that I no longer count this as 1 2 1 2. I count this as a complete 1 2. Okay, so this is important for a couple of reasons. One, it's the symmetry that this 5-wave move is producing. Right, you saw the green wave 2 was sharp, green wave 4 expanded. Okay, so this particular count takes into consideration alternation in a big way, and wave 5 up here was similar in length to wave 3. Okay, so a bit of confusion at the highs was partly to do with how this little wave 3 ended, and then what we saw after that was just wave 4 and 5. So it was a strange looking wave. Alternation even occurred between, well, I can only imagine, is a lot in within the wave 5 as well. So 1 2 2 being so small, um, of each wave, it then produced sideways wave 4s for both of those wave 4s, right? So that completes wave 3. So now we're at the stage where I thought we were back here. Now is where I expect to see, you know, a fairly sharp correction due to alternation between wave 2 and wave 4. Okay, so falling back to the previous fourth wave of wave 3, still around the same area, and you'll notice how wave 4 found support at the end of wave 3, which is a typical expanded correction. And now that area is important for the coming wave 4, and then wave 5 should complete this move. Right, so that's the first part of this equation. The second part is I just want to talk about the expected move higher and how price action might behave after this move completes. And I think it's important to note because given the type of corrective patterns that you've seen within this structure, it wouldn't surprise me too much if we saw this this wave 2. See this wave 2, normally you'd expect the wave 2 to end somewhere down here, and it might do that. It might do that, but I'm going to show you an example of how that doesn't occur, right? We don't know yet because we haven't even finished the first wave, but I'm going to show you a couple of things. Now, something that adds credence to this idea also is the length being around 16%. Okay, 16.6, I think it's around 16.68% is roughly where wave 1 ends on the first wave A, for the first move up of this entire zigzag. Okay, so wouldn't surprise me if we hit that area, and I'll show you what I mean. So if we go to the weekly chart, I don't know if you remember when I explained the bigger picture, I did say that we are in a C wave. The C wave is incoming, right? So the C wave here is going to be similar in length to this move here. Okay, so this is why I expect to see such a huge move up. Sorry, just get rid of this. Such a huge move up in the euro. Okay, so let me just expand this out a little bit so I can see where the low is. Okay, so it's just there. All right, so this is how high I expect this to go before we start another wave E. Okay, so it's almost like you could say that we're going to see a very similar thing that what happened at 2008 happen around when this tops out. Okay, and it's interesting to note that this will be the first time that cryptos have experienced a major crisis, and that's unfolding. We're nowhere near that yet, but I expect something like that to happen, and that will be very interesting to see if that becomes a wave 4 in cryptos or what exactly. Could it be another 1-2 subdivision when we get there? That's interesting. Food for thought. Now let's go down to the start of this wave A. Let's go to the daily. All the way back to 1985, I think it was. Yep. Right, now you'll notice that you can barely see this move here. It's barely visible. Okay, but this particular move here was 16.68, I think it was last time I measured it. But you'll notice that we saw an expansion in this correction, meaning that we saw wave 1, right? But then we saw wave A only, and then we saw wave B, C, D, and then E here, right? And that's interesting because this is the problem with Elliott wave, and a 3-wave move down is not a complete correction. Okay, the fact that this expanded so much the way it did confirms that AriasWave is legit, right? Confirms that ABC patterns are not complete corrections. Okay, now then we saw wave 3. Okay, so wave 3 was that long, and then we saw a correction for wave 4. Okay, and then we saw a weak 5-wave move to end this pattern, right? Now that to me is moving up in 3 waves. Okay, so we have a zigzag there, a zigzag here, and a zigzag here. That's a weak 5-wave move to end it. All right, and it was also similar in length, I believe, to wave 3. Very close. Okay. Wave 1 was the shortest. So you can see how understanding the wave structures is invaluable to analysis, and this is why I can produce the type of ideas that I produce. Right, it's not rocket science. It's just a formula which repeats over and over and over and over again. Right. So yes, it can frustrate at times, which you no doubt have noticed I probably do get. But then I have to step back, take a breather, take some time off, and then come back and reanalyze things. And that's due to a busy lifestyle. So in essence, what I believe is going to happen to where we currently are, so I just go to the 4-hour, right? Potentially, right? This is a potential. We could see this go up to 16 something percent, right? We could see a pullback that is nothing other than a wave A. Now I'm not saying it's going to repeat because it doesn't need to, right? But if we see something like this happen, and then you see no B wave, just price just explode higher, that's going to provide a bit of a clue as to what we're looking at, and that'll help us produce more analysis down the track, right? So that there, I believe, is invaluable info, and we still have a little bit to go. So it's not that much really, is it? Now, we may see a complete correction at the lows. We may see it. We don't know. We just can't tell that kind of thing, right? We might see a good base out occur, or we may see an A wave, right? And then we might see this thing just expand higher in B, right? There's just no telling. I have to make that extremely clear because wave 2 may not be on this chart at the lows in the future. We just don't know where that will end. So I think it's good to look at the past to get a feel for the future, especially in the euro. And if you're wondering why that happened, I would say probably you know, a move that looks that sharp, it almost looks like it doesn't have a wave two, right? And this is why I even teach this stuff, right? I teach in my material that sometimes wave, threes can look so sharp, but really it's just the wave two that's expanded to the upside, and it gives it that extra length, right? So if you look at this pattern in its entirety, you'll see that most of the impulsive move in the beginning was not even an impulsive move. It was a correction that expanded, right? And then when you see that how we broke the previous high, you start to see, okay, well then we pulled back pretty sharp in A, B, C, and then D, and then E, right? So I expect basically a repeat performance almost in the not so distant future to be producing this sort of same thing again, except instead of being the D wave, it'll be um, a complete D wave from the 1985 lows to then see that E wave come back to some level. We don't know what the future brings in that regard. That's really far out thinking. That really just highlights the power of AriasWave compared to like Elliott wave or whatever. And for us to expect this type of move up at this point in time, well, it's going to be pretty gruesome for the US dollar. All right, so I want you to bear this in mind, because as we move forward, that's the type of thing that you'll be seeing more of. But for the hard part, I think it's over. I think understanding this pattern is getting much easier at this point. All we need to see now is a bit of a wave 4 and 5, and then wait and see how that wave 2 correction unfolds. So hopefully you found this video interesting and informative. Thank you for watching.